Hey YouTubers, it's Charlie. So I wanted to dedicate a video to Doctor Who companions. I've already done a video about my favorite old companions, so I wanted to talk about people that I wanted to see become companions at some point in the future. I also have some new details on the Series 8 premiere, so I'll talk about that because I know the most important thing we want to know right now is when we can start watching episodes. If you're finding me for the first time, I'm just doing Doctor Who bonus videos until Series 8 premieres. Be sure to subscribe to get everything. Once it starts, I'm just going to do like I do for Game of Thrones with the 3 regular videos, like the bonus video, episode review, and a Q&A. So it'll be a lot of fun. I'm even doing a special giveaway every week. So important stuff first. There's a Doctor Who World Tour starting on August 7th in the UK and ending August 19th in Brazil. The BBC announced that Peter Capaldi and people from the show will be promoting the series in a bunch of different cities in anticipation of the Series 8 premiere. That language is very important, in anticipation of Series 8. What does that mean? Essentially, Capaldi's going to be traveling around doing press, and then after the tour is over, they'll have the worldwide premiere. August 19th is on a Tuesday, the last day of that tour, so tentatively planned for the Series 8 premiere to be on Saturday, August 23rd. It's totally possible that they could have the premiere in the middle of the tour, but because they said in anticipation of, I think that they're going to wait till after the tour's over to premiere that first episode. I'll post a link in the description for all those tour dates in case they're coming to a city that you live in and you want to try and go see them. So now let's talk about some companions. The fun thing is, there can be a lot of them. Unless it's the 50th anniversary or the Doctor's having vanity issues, there can really only be one of him in any given episode. But companions come and go all the time. So here are the top 10 people I'd like to see become companions at some point in the future. Number 10, John Bradley from Game of Thrones. Samwell on Doctor Who would be so much fun. There's a lot of historical figures he could play like young Winston Churchill, but as a companion, I'd really like to see him play a grown-up version of Stormageddon. He's already playing a good analog for Craig on Game of Thrones. Plus, he could be part of the meta sci-fi mashup with a bunch of other Game of Thrones actors that are on my list. One of the things I really like about UK series or series that film in Europe are that actors bounce around a lot, so actors that show up on Doctor Who together tend to show up on other shows together too. Number 9, Antonia Thomas from Misfits. So she's actually just been cast in Series 2 of The Musketeers, which also stars Peter Capaldi. He's obviously going to have to leave that show just because of Doctor Who commitments, but see what I mean about actors working together on different shows? It's really her character on Misfits that made me put her on this list. If you never saw that series, it's basically about a bunch of juvenile delinquents that get caught in a storm and get superpowers. Her superpower was sexual attraction. She had like River Song levels of pheromones, so she would just be amazing as a companion on Doctor Who that may or may not have been the daughter of River Song. I know Jenny's supposed to be the Doctor's daughter, but it's funny to think about an alternate universe version of her that took after River Song more. Also, fun fact, another Game of Thrones actor that starred with Antonia on Misfits was Eowyn Rayon. He basically plays Ramsay Snow, or Ramsay Bolton now on the show. Number 8, Freya Mavor from Skins. On Skins, she went from being like a mean girl, queen bee, to a mother and a caregiver. You could say that all of the Doctor's female companions end up taking care of him at some point, so I'd really like to see her get something of a modified Donna Noble arc where she goes from like meltdown celebutante to hero. Obviously Donna was never a celebutante, but you get the idea. Remember between Series 6 and 7 when Amy Pond had that whole arc where she became this huge celebrity and had a falling out with Rory? Think of it as something like that. I wasn't a huge fan of that, but thematically I think it could work. Freya as the celebrity just getting swept up in the Doctor's life. Fun fact, Freya was on Skins with fellow Game of Thrones actors Hannah Murray and Joe Dempsey. They played Gilly and Gendry, respectively. Number 7, Ruth Wilson from Luther. She's a little bit older than the 20-something actresses that Doctor Who usually casts as companions, but I really wanted to include a few fantasy picks for actors who are just amazing. On Luther, her Alice character is incredibly sinister, like River Song when she was still the insane version of Melody Pond. She'd even make a fantastic Lady Time Lord. I think given the darker and more serious tone of Capaldi's Doctor, she'd be a really good foil though. You don't always have to have silly companions, so she's my choice for like a devilish grin companion. Not an evil one, just one that delights in a little chaos. If you never saw her on Luther, she actually starred on that show with Paul McGann. He was in like 8 episodes, so you should check it out. Number 6, Hannah Murray from Game of Thrones. I just want to see Gilly become a Doctor Who companion. That's what I'm saying. Like Samwell finds her a new place to hide that just ends up being a police box conveniently parked in the library of Castle Black. She was also on Skins with Joe Dempsey, but her character Cassie Ainsworth was just a total fail of a human being. The Doctor is supposed to be a healer, so I'd really like to see Hannah do a version of Cassie that becomes, empowered as a result of her adventures in the TARDIS. Not empowered like Bad Wolf empowered, but you get the idea. Like a fun twist on the hero's journey that you usually see the Doctor get. You know, you go from like lowest point to like superhero at the end. Number 5, Laura Donnelly from Merlin. On that show, she played the character who became the Lady of the Lake. She was a tragic character who was cursed and fell in love with Merlin, but eventually ascended to become this hugely important character. I know it sounds a lot like Bad Wolf Rose Tyler. I don't want to see another romantic companion so soon after River's Song, but I do like the idea of the ticking clock. They kind of did it with Clara and the Impossible Girl plot, but I'd like to see Laura play a companion that the Doctor always knows will die very, very soon. Like a reverse version of the Lake Silencio plot during Series 6, where the Doctor always has to die in a certain time and place. So they just have to use time travel to avoid that moment for the whole series, until eventually the Doctor has to take her back and she ends up dying. So fun fact, Merlin is actually a real meta show that has a bunch of Doctor Who and Game of Thrones crossovers. So she was on that show with Eve Miles from Torchwood, Joe Dempsey from Game of Thrones, and John Hurt, who is the 8.5 Doctor or the 9th Doctor, depending on how you want to look at it. Number 4, Rose Leslie. I don't want to post any Game of Thrones spoilers about Ygritte's character here, but I'm such a fan of the previous Ginger companion that I really want to see Rose Leslie be like the Ygritte to the Doctor's Jon Snow. Not in a romantic way, just a companion that isn't going to take any of the Doctor's crap. I always feel like my favorite companions are smarter than the Doctor, or at least more helpful. Yes, the Doctor always comes through in the end, but day to day, it's the companion that usually ends up seeming like the smart one. Rose Leslie would make an amazing companion who could kind of boss the Doctor around without seeming too unlikable. Number 3, Carla Crome from Misfits. On that show, her superpower was seeing through people's bullshit, like when they were lying. I'd really like to see how that ability would work when the Doctor's first rule is, the Doctor always lies. Just imagine Capaldi saying random things and off in the distance you hearing her say, bullshit, or just really softly under her breath. It'd be so funny. Number 2, Richard Ayoade. He was actually rumored for the role of the Doctor a long time ago, but I'm glad they didn't cast him just because Matt Smith's thing was being the sillier version of the Doctor, and Ayoade is an excellent comedian, but a comedy-driven Doctor for 6 to 8 years in a row is just way too much of the same. That's why I really want to see him as a companion, you know, someone who can just punch up Capaldi when he gets just a little too dry or a little too dark. That's the thing I really love about British humor. Sometimes it can be so subtle you don't even realize that it's a joke. But most of the time, I think that kind of humor ends up being funnier than the really obvious jokes you see in stuff like 22 Jump Street. There's at least like one dick joke every 5 minutes. And yeah, I laughed a lot, but I think Ayoade's dry humor would be so much more appropriate for Doctor Who. I mean, why else would they have considered him for the role of the Doctor if he wasn't perfect for the series? And the number 1 person I want to see become a companion in the future, Kate McGrath from Merlin. She plays Morgana on Merlin, but I think she would make an amazing Doctor Who companion. She would be my dream casting, like a companion who could run circles around the Doctor. I feel like all the best companions would make amazing Time Lords, so whenever you're considering people that you want to be new companions, you have to consider people that could be a Time Lord, potentially. In order to do that convincingly, you have to be both powerful and really quick, like Stephen Colbert quick, mentally that is, like a machine gun of thought. I know a lot of you Game of Thrones fans would love to see her play Lyanna Stark in some sort of flashback scene, but there is no reason that she could not do both. There's like 3 Game of Thrones actors on my list here. One of the benefits of British series running shorter than American series is that it leaves more time for the actors to do other shows. So Morgana Pendragon gets my number 1 vote for future companion. Now it's your turn though. Let me know in the comments below, who do you want to see become a future Doctor Who companion? Bonus points if you can cross the fandom streams. Since I'm posting this kind of late, I'm not going to have time to do Orphan Black tonight, so I'm just going to be doing some Tumblr GIFs and posting my thoughts there. You're also welcome to ask any questions about that in these comments. My next Doctor Who video is going to post next Saturday. I haven't completely decided what it's going to be, but feel free to leave me suggestions. Right now though, click here to catch up on Game of Thrones and get ready for the big finale this weekend, and click here to learn more about the Series 8 episodes. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys tomorrow. High fives.